from the Mr. Fence Academy studios, here's your host, Billy Grove.
Woo, Billy! Billy.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Facebook? What's going on, Fence fam? Hello, world. How's everybody doing today on this wonderful Tuesday?
Hello.
How are you doing today?
What's up, buddy? I am doing. Remember, I talked directly into this. I am doing good, man. It's been a good week. It has been fun. It has been very, very busy, man. I'll tell you what, our phone's been. It's
salmon season, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's what Gato said, man.
Right.
Floodgates open. It's been a very good week, man. And we've managed to book out next 3 weeks off just the last 4 days alone. So I mean, it's been a good week.
Has been a good week. It's been a busy week as well on both sides of things. How was your weekend, personal life?
Weekend was solid, man. It didn't really do a whole lot Sunday because I'm still recovering. So I knew I did too much during the week. Picked up around the house for the most part Saturday and just kind of relaxed, didn't do a whole lot of anything on Sunday. How about you, man? What'd you get into?
Let's see. Saturday, the wife had a girls' date and went and got her nails done. And I kind of hung around the house, and then I downloaded Final Cut Pro, and then I downloaded Logic Pro on the iPad, and I was just rabbit hole for hours and hours until like 10 minutes before she got home. I was like, oh shit, we have a date tonight. And I was like, I gotta go act like I've been getting ready. I went and like jumped in the shower real fast. I was like, all right, cool, yeah.
Oh, hey, babe, you're home. How you doing?
Yeah, but like
perfect timing.
In all actuality, I was on like my iPad for like 4.5 hours just staring, just like doing like video clips and audio stuff. I was like, no, man, this is a cool program.
And once you get like those hyper focus modes where that's all you get into, and those are I love that I can just hyper focus.
Oh yeah, man, it was a good little rabbit hole. And then we did not go out to eat on Valentine's Day because it's during the week, and then we're former bar and restaurant employees, and no, thank you.
No,
so we went out to George's Saturday night. I had duck, not for the first time, but for the first time that I got it for myself. It was pretty amazing. And then we went out to one of the local sports bars, played pool for a while. I got my ass kicked every single round.
Your lady whoop your ass?
Yeah, she did. She did. I was like amped going into it because I was like, oh man, we haven't played in a while. I'm about to kick her ass. And then I was just like, loss. And then like her friend got there. I was like, yeah. Stephanie, why don't you play her? Beat her, please. And then she beat Stephanie. And I was like, all right, let's move on to darts.
She ran the table on y'all the whole night.
Yeah, man. She kicked my ass and she beat Stephanie that one time. After like my fourth loss, I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm not losing anymore.
Just sit in the corner and just milk your beer a little bit.
Yeah. So that was our little Saturday night. We weren't even out late. I think we were home at like 10:45.
I was 100% asleep.
Yeah. And then I went to bed, and Sunday was just a chill day. Did some laundry and watched a bunch of TV. And then other than that,
sounds like you're pretty lazy.
Yeah, absolutely. On the weekends, I'm definitely lazy. But then, went back to work on Monday, went and played around with a pool fence.
Yeah, we did. And that pool fence turned out pretty solid.
It looked nice.
Other than we had to get different size hinges,
it looked
that
nice.
Pool fence really looked good. That was
look.
That's gonna look good once they get the sod done and we can go back and get photos. Right now, it's just a bunch of nasty mud. I'm talking
thick,
like just
sticky mud.
It's so hard to walk out there with my leg. It's such a pain.
You can definitely gain 2 inches of height if you walk out there long enough. I mean, it gets so caked up on your boots, it's like you're like walking on stilts or something.
Shit's deep.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. Well, tonight we have on Mr. Josh Rand from Aloha Fence. Really looking forward to this interview. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring him on screen.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
How are you doing, Mr. Josh?
Doing awesome. How are you guys?
Good,
Can't
man.
Complain. It was a beautiful day. Started out like 30 degrees today, but it ended at like 65, 70. It was solid.
Yeah, dude, I shouldn't
Lu-
have worn my base layers this morning. I should have just toughed it out.
Lucky you
How about-
guys. We started out with about 20 degrees and it rained. After it got up to 30, guys are soaking wet. But fortunately, we had some wood drying in the shop, so we had heaters going. Brought them
I
right
saw
back,
that.
and it was all good.
I
There
saw
it is.
that. I saw you got a truckload of cedar today. That was some pretty cool
First
stuff,
wood,
man.
first wood truck I've ever bought. So I was pretty excited about that. Had to
And there's
share.
a truckload of cedar.
Full truckload of cedar. Yeah, we had
That's
two
awesome.
2x6 16, 1x6/8, 1x6/6, and some 2x4/8. So all the fence materials. It's all sold
Nice.
already. It's already sold. We
Nice.
gotta get going with install now. So
Is cedar
that's
really
where we're
big
at.
up there where you guys are at?
Yeah, most of the suppliers we got, that's what they're supplying. We don't really get pine boards. I know
I
my
envy you
friend
guys.
Cannon in Tennessee, they got a lot of pine boards they use. Yeah, actually, I'm looking at his spreadsheet. They got pine boards and a whole lot of pine. Not a lot of cedar options anyway.
No,
yeah.
we don't get a lot of cedar down here either. I think the most cedar we've touched in the last 5 years was some split rail.
Yep. I was like, what, 200 foot of split rail? And I'm
That
like,
was it.
that's about it. Like other than that, cedar's not a thing down here. It's just pine. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Cool.
But all right, well, Mr. Josh, go ahead and tell us the Aloha fence Josh ran story, because I've seen some things. I've been friends with you on Facebook for like 2 years, and I've kind of pieced together my own story, but I'd love to hear it from you.
I got into fencing 1998. I had a buddy who owned a company called Best Vinyl Fence out of Utah. At the time, he recruited me from a framing job. I was framing houses, and he needed a producer, so he got me a job in a shop for another company, and he just needed me to help speed up his process because he was tired of waiting for he was a full-blown sub, and he would install as fast as he could. And anyway, he got me in the shop. I was able to produce for him. And then a couple years later, we moved. He said, "Hey, quit that job and go work for this other guy." So I moved over, went to them. They were a sinking ship. They ended up going bankrupt after 6 months. And then from there, I was so tired of dealing with customers that I went back to framing. And he continued on and ended up growing that after 10 or 15 years to he sold the company for between 10 and 20 million dollars. A couple years later, in 2009 or 10, somewhere in there, he ended up buying it back for $2.5 million. So he sold high, bought low. Is that the right way? Made a lot of money in two transactions. We'll just say that.
Right.
Okay, something we all should strive towards. Anyway, I maintained friendship with him. He and I have known each other since we're 2 years old, and now he owns a lodge in Alaska. And every spring, I'll usually go up there and build stuff for him, cabins and dock houses, docks, boardwalk, just random stuff. And for me, it's just total solace. I go up there and I just can disconnect. I do have phone service, but I can just push all the stuff to the end of the day. So when I was at the job that went bankrupt, went back to framing. I ran with that for 5 or 6 years till the recession in 2000, whenever, 8 or 9.
2008.
I actually 8, yeah, right around there. So I actually called my friend back and I said, "Hey, I'm in a bad way. I need a job." And he wasn't offering a job, but he said, "Hey, you can go to Travis Air Force Base and install fence." And I'm like, "Okay, what's that? How much fence do you need?" Because I was a carpenter. I build a lot of stuff, so building the fence is pretty simple. I spent 2 years at Travis Air Force Base putting in 5 miles of wood fence by myself. And
Wow.
5 miles of wood fence by yourself, and it took you how long?
2 years. I haven't figured out how many sections per day that is, but I tell you what, I see your Mr. Fence sponsoring this, the academy.
Start
But
getting the gears turning.
so I've chatted with Sean several times, and if I'd have had some of the tools that he had, the thing is I could only go so fast production wise because I was waiting on landscapers and the production schedule. So that was a little bit daunting, I guess. If I'd have had more efficiencies by using those tools, like a straightaway and an equalizer, those two tools alone, I could have gone home at 3 o'clock instead of 4:30 every day, for sure.
Equalizer is my hands down favorite tool.
Yeah, if anyone's going to get any one tool, or like, I'm going to throw down something, a couple $100, get your equalizer, and you're off and running, and then make your money back on that. But in a wood scenario, that straightaway we're actually gearing up to do a straightaway job or a wood job. Obviously, some of you guys saw that. So we'll be using that here shortly. Anyway, I finished out that fence job and then went back and then I could see they needed help in Hawaii. So I moved our family over to Hawaii. We spent a few years there running a different business, and all this is me being self-employed. I've never really been employed by anybody, but we went to Hawaii, spent 3 years there, living there, and then I spent another couple of years trying to set up both our Utah division and then the Hawaii division. And in Hawaii, it was called R5 Fencing. And then when we moved to Utah, we decided to call it Aloha Fence. And the first 2 years was a little rough getting going. Not like we didn't have enough work. It's just I was juggling both Hawaii and Utah, and that's extremely difficult, to run a business 3,000 miles away. And I was
about to say that's a long ways away to be splitting businesses.
Super long commute. What's that?
I said, I bet the trials of trying to get that figured out was definitely daunting. I bet that was definitely a pain.
Yeah, and then I'd spend my days, fencing away in Utah, and then I'd get home about 6:30, roll into the driveway, and then 2 hours on the phone with guys in Hawaii, lining out the next couple of days, or the next day, or troubleshooting something, and it takes a big toll on you. And then Utah wasn't really growing, and Hawaii doesn't. The two divisions between Utah and Hawaii, it was difficult, super hard to run two areas for me. Some people can pull it off. I'll never do that again. I don't really love it, and not a lot of payout in the end of either of those. So we eventually rolled out of shut down Hawaii, and then I could focus on Utah. And so for the last 9 years, we've been cranking. We're always trying new stuff, new tools. We started off, my big thing was to start off with like a 550. Well, it was a 5500 Dodge, blew that motor up. But anyway, 3 trucks later, we're at the F550 flatbeds.
There you go.
We run the trailers, the goosenecks. The problem with that is then you got to have CDLs for that. So that's a hurdle, an obstacle, let's say, that we got to figure out.
How many people do you have in your staff that are CDL that can drive a CDL?
Just me and my son. Well, my son runs Black Ops CDL, so he's not a CDL. He's not, and we're gonna get busted at some point, but we're working towards that. But most of the transport I can handle, but we're also getting away from that, just the way our trucks are set up. And we the bigger jobs we can just transport. I can transport the equipment out to the job and leave it all there, and then each day-to-day task is just the guys will load up their trucks with the materials they need for that day, but the equipment's already there. So that works pretty well.
It's pretty works.
Yeah, and that obviously on the bigger jobs it's nice because we got our guys on one crew on the job right now. They're going to be there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then recently so I feel like I've been banging my head against the wall for a long time, and I've been told what to do and how to do it. And I've sat through the academy stuff, and all the stuff that I've learned in there was spot on. You literally better, if anyone's ever going to that, or if you're interested, I highly recommend it. But if you're going to go to that, you need to be ready to apply the things that you learn, because otherwise you're just kind of like, it's like sitting in a movie, you know, you get entertainment and it was cool that you did it. But if you don't apply the stuff you learn, it's going to be tricky to feel like you benefited from it. But I recently hired a company that basically told me the same stuff to do. We had to get rid of, we had a team member that was cancerous to our company, and we all knew it. Even he probably even knew it. But we hired a consult company to come in, and we paid him a hefty paycheck to
How's that
basically
going?
tell him. It's actually the result of it is great. It's expensive, and we've been able to afford it, but the difference of like, here's the difference. Sean King, he preaches and he teaches some amazing things, but he's not going to sit with you and make you do this stuff. These guys I hired, they literally came in. In fact, I'm sitting right where the guy was sitting in this office trailer, okay? And then I was sitting on the other side of this table, and he just said, this is the next thing you need to focus on. And he was doing computer stuff, but he's holding me accountable for it, right? And so if you're going to hire someone like Sean King to come in, he's going to teach you all the stuff, but then it's the part where, what about the accountability? Implementing it, right? And so I wasn't any good at that, and I was in a bad way. And this company, literally, they called me out of the blue, and then I started talking. They sent a guy over. He kind of interviews for 3 days with me, and then anyway, a few days after that, they send in 2 more guys, and then they literally peel the onion back, and they see where's the skeletons in the closet, and is this guy worth spending their time on, right? Obviously they want my money, but they want to, they also want to know, does he know what he's doing enough that we can help him? And that was my biggest question to that group. Was they kind of presented their offering, I guess, if you will. And I said, look, if you believe in me, I'll do whatever you say. Cause at this point I've tried everything. I've exhausted every effort up to now, and I'm kind of stuck. And I've spent hours and hours talking with Sean, hours and hours talking with Mark, Tony Thornton, just some key players in the industry, and
Absolutely.
they're all very, very knowledgeable, and they all just about had the same thing to say. But again, they're not sitting in my office straight across from me telling me, okay, here's the next task, and here's what you got to do, right? And so
sometimes you need that blueprint.
What's that?
Sometimes you need that blueprint. You need that person to say, hey, this is where areas of improvement. There's no fault at all. Like in taking that accountability audit of yourself, where are we slacking at? Where can we be better at? Because deep down, we know what we need to do to make it better. And sometimes I've reached out to companies just like that, probably the same one that you did. I reached out to you. And same thing, it's not cheap, but man, what they offer, if you do and you listen to what they say, they can absolutely turn your life around, or at least your business around, if you want to implement it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So there was a guy, the guy's name's Mark. He sat with me for, I think we ended up being about 4 weeks, and he just kept me pointed in the right direction. I've shared this before. I could share it again, but I wrote my goals down on sticky notes, as barbaric as that is, and it worked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first goal up there was 60,000 in December, and I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going to sell $60,000 in December. Like, that's just not even possible. Well, he said, no, I believe in you, and I know you told me you could sell $3 million in a year, and I'm like, okay. So we sold $60,744 in December. So I beat my goal. January, I've shared this before too. My goal is $96,823. I sold $280,000 or something.
Woo!
That's not bad for
Heck
January.
yeah,
Right?
man.
That's like,
Oh,
woo! Okay.
That's
I see
awesome right there.
Aaron Capello, my brother from Hawaii. He's
There you
in
go.
here on this group. Okay. He and I, we go all the way back to Hawaii. So
there
Nice.
it is.
Aaron.
100K in January is impressive, man. That's absolutely impressive.
So 100, yeah, that was the goal. 96 was the goal, and we ended up doing 180. And I'm going to call that an anomaly because that's crazy, right? So then we go to February.
I
It's
call it
written
hard work.
$119,000 for February, and
10 days left, or if
I,
8 days left.
well, except that. Let's see if this pulls up. Okay, this is my sales tracker, and I started keeping track of this because I got curious. Well, right now today, 176,000 sold for February. Okay, so what's cool about that is yeah, right. Let's hear that. 64% for the month, the capture ratio. Anyway, my point is I write these goals down, and all of a sudden I'm hitting them. And like in the past, these guys are sitting in here telling me how to run my business, and they're like, okay, what's your goal going to be for selling for 2024? And I'm like, I don't know. Am I supposed to have one? And they're like, well, yeah. So back up to first part of their conversation, they started talking about 2023, and we're coming into end of November, 1st of December, and they're like, so 2022 you sold 1.8 million about, and we're at 1.3 right now. What is the problem? And I'm like, well, I'm not selling, and just, my son, I just kind of let him run with it, and he'd sell when he could and whatever. Problem is when the customer would ask us when we could install their fence, we would be 4 months out, and that's a huge problem. Like hit or miss. Maybe they wanted us to install the fence, but they're definitely not really willing to wait 4 months for that. And so they said, okay, you got to quit doing whatever you're doing, which was operation. I would call it operations and a lot of welding. They said, you quit that. You don't get to do it anymore. In fact, you're fired from it, and you're going to sell. You're going to just sell. And that's your main focus. Okay. So they switched my whole train of thought. We reorganized the company. We got rid of cancer. We put Bridger in the operations part of it. And I still coach and teach him how to do some of the welding and stuff, but I'm minimal, at best right now. I don't really have to help him a ton. I can line him out on it. We have little, operations meetings, and then I just get out of the way. And that's the biggest thing is, Sean is big on teaching this about, get out of the driver's seat, get out of your own way. And as soon as I did that, we start hitting these goals, and I'm like, man, I'm on target for 2.5 million, which is double what we sold last year. I'm ahead of target. In fact, David Gatto, he commented on one of my posts just a couple days ago. He said, hey, by the way, you're on your way to 4 or 5 million in sales, which again,
and he knows what he's talking about too.
That's that.
He does.
I listen.
Yeah,
I do. I listen to David. He and I chat often mostly about ice bathing and lifting weights, but
What's that?
anyway,
I'm sorry, were you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna kind of skip. Kind of goes into what you were just saying about having your son work for you. How is that working for you? Having your son helping you lead your company. How is that? How is those relationship? How does that work out?
So a few years back, he was on an LDS mission. He calls me one day. They get to call every week. And he says, Dad, I want to come work for you for the company. I'm like, man, this is the answer to my prayers, right? I need help and somebody to listen to me and help me grow. So he gets home from his mission. We spend, the next year or so just cranking and we're just not him and I so much as button heads, but situations were frustrating. We had that guy that was cancerous to our company, and those two were button heads. And I would say, Bridger, this is how you need to do it. And I want you to go like A, B, C, D. And he's like, okay, Dad, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. And then, and then by the way, tell, old man guy that knows everything, fence, our cancer guy, call him Don, which means old guy in Hispanic or in Spanish. Anyway, so, and that was his nickname. So it's not like I'm being rude. Anyway, Don thinks he knows everything. And Bridger would say, hey, this is what my dad wants us to do. Boom, boom, boom. A, B, C, D. And he's like, no, I'm going to do Z, probably C. And I'm going to lie and tell you I did A, B, C. Right. So that's what we're dealing with. And then that builds up pressure. So then Bridger comes to me about 6 months ago. And he said, he's too afraid to face me, which was sad, but he sends me a text and he says, hey, just so you know, I'm looking for another job. I can't handle this anymore. There's too much pressure. This isn't my resignation, but this is me telling you I'm looking for something else. And I said,
That's pretty solid.
it was legit. And I get it. Cause it's hard to, face your creator, I guess. I totally understood it, and I went through a real bad few months there because I was like, gosh dang, dude, what am I gonna do? I was planning on him being the successor, and I just had no backup plan to that. So I'm like, man, I've been doing this for 16 years, and I was hoping that he would step into this and help out. Anyway, I said, okay, before you move on, will you please do me a favor? And I want you to talk to some key people in the industry. Just hear me out. And he says, okay. So I had him talk to Tony Thornton, my friend at Best Final, who, bought and sold his company, sold high and then bought it back low. And then since has sold it again. He chatted with Mark Olson on my back porch under the awning. Dan Wheeler, I think I pulled him into it too, and those two talk. There's a couple more. I think I already said Tony Thornton. Anyway, my point was, and I called all these people individually and said, hey, look, here's what's going on. Will you please just talk to him? And don't talk to him in a way that you convince him to stay with me. That wasn't my goal. My goal was for him to have his perspective broadened, I guess, so that he could see, successful people in the industry and get a better understanding of where they're coming from and what they've been through. And maybe they'll share some insight on me. Right. And most of these guys that I shared with him, I've only known him for 2-3 years. One of them I've known my whole life, but very successful people, and especially successful in the fencing industry. So over the next month and a half, he coordinates with them, and he chats 1 to 2 hours with my friend that I've known most of my life. He spent 8 hours with that guy because he said, hey, if we're going to talk, I want to sit down with him. So I actually have to go to Middle Utah. It's a 4-hour drive there, 4 hours back. Let's put him in my truck and let's just go through it and talk. And so anyway, so 3 weeks later, we get into about November, and I'm pulling in this corporate company, and I'm like, well, whatever Bridger wants to do, he's going to do. I've got to just keep the thing going and figure out what I'm going to do. So we pull them in. They come in, and we're going through 5 different options on how this could work. And the one that I kept going back to and saying to him was, Bridger needs to be in command, and he needs to run the operations of the company, and I need to sell, right? So Bridger's operations, and I'm sales, plus all the the background stuff, like I order materials, move money around, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So we get him to buy in on that plan, and this is after we get rid of cancer, because cancer was a huge roadblock for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Once we had gotten rid of him, these guys went, and one of the guys actually sat down at dinner with Bridger and his wife, and they shared their goals with Mark, is the guy's name, Bridger and his wife. And he's like, okay, so what are your steps to get to those goals? And they didn't really have a plan in place per se. And then, the whole, well, we just kind of want to buy our own house. And he said, okay, well, how much can you afford? And then he told, how much that house payment's going to be. And they're like, well, we think it's about this much money. And he's like, actually, let's look that up. Right. So he pulls up the internet, something, mortgage calculator, and he shares that with them. And they're just blown away. They're like, that's like 3 times more than we were planning. And he goes, right.
Right.
And he let him sit on it. And he's like, okay, so what's your plan? Like you're far away from that. Doesn't mean you can't get there, but you're far away, and your only vehicle, or your best vehicle, is to just hunker down, stay put, and help the business grow for now, right? So we get through all that. Bridger recommits, his wife recommits. We got them both to commit. They're on board for 3 years. So if that's all I got, that's great, but it's helping us. The other part of our plan was to get, subcontractors involved, which is where we're at right now. And recently we just had, we've pulled a couple different subs in. There's a small company that's near us that actually inquired once they heard we were pulling subs in, Zion's Fence. The guy's name's Thomas Poole. I've known of him for probably 15 years, crossed paths a couple times, and then recently in the last year he and I chatted a little bit, and then a month ago he's like, hey, I'd be willing to do some sub work. Anyway, so he's done 1.5 jobs right now. And then obviously Victor Vasquez is a huge help. And when I was going through my dilemma, I almost call it rock bottom, Victor and I chat often, a couple times a week, especially when we're working on a job. Old VV.
Yeah, buddy.
The dude knows what he's doing, for one, and
Yes,
two, he just straight up said, when I'm in tears and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and he just says, well, how can I help? And I hadn't really even thought of what he was getting at until that point. And he goes, well, what can I do to help you? And I'm like, well, I need more installer. I need my guys to go faster. And he's like, well, what can I do to help you? And I'm like, you want to sub? You want to do work for us? And he's like, yeah, if it pays right, let's roll with that. And I'm like, all right. We did like 5 or 6 jobs, and then I could tell he's literally handing him the check at the end of each job. And one point in there, we had a conversation, and he said, hey, I really need you to get me this amount of money per job, because I'm driving 2 hours or an hour each way, and it's all overtime, and so I need this much. And so he just spells it out, and I said, okay, give me 2 more weeks, I'll start selling the jobs at that price. Unfortunately, right, in the area we're in, we have that opportunity where I figure out what he needs. We scrape a little off the top. I get the materials there. We deliver everything. So he kind of just drives into the job, and he's ready to go. So that's how we're working together to build each other up. So he's got a goal of 10 million in sales. It's freaking ridiculous, but he's awesome, got 10 million. Awesome. It is. It's super awesome. And he hasn't ever reached it, but it's his goal. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm going to try and help you. And I'm pushing him, and he's helping us by pulling us along. And so, him reaching his 10 and me reaching 2.5, it's a team effort that we're going at it, a different approach, which I don't know that there's a lot of other, I haven't seen anyone else working together yet. I'd imagine there probably are other companies working together, but.
Oh yeah, we're in the same boat as you are. After I broke my leg, we couldn't quite install the way we used to install, and we didn't have really the manpower that we had prior to my injury. And so we had a sub crew today, started a driven job. They're going to finish it tomorrow while we went off and did other things today to make money.
Yeah.
Subbing is absolutely a very good way. Like especially for in your predicament, like you're talking about stuff like with us. And you think about it, that's all you go back to talking about David Gatto. David Gatto is the same way. He subs to 13, 14 different installation crews. And I mean, that is obviously probably going to be the way of the future with a lot of this, is to where, because you can really reduce your overhead. You can really know how much the jobs are going to cost ahead of time, as far as manpower, hours, all that good stuff. So far, we're all about it. We're willing to pay to train. So we'll pay our subs to learn our way. That way, when we know to vet them through. Like, we're gonna pay you to see what you got. Come work with us. Come work with our guys. Come work with Billy. Come get trained up by him. And at the end of it, here you go. So I think you're on the right. I think that's awesome, man. I think you're rock and roll with it.
Oh yeah, man, and just having VV as a sub. I mean, that's
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
you don't have to even do
But-
anything. Just be like, yep, here's the paperwork, here's the materials. Call me when you're done.
That'd be so
that
much fun. I would
motherfucker
love-
is high maintenance, you guys. Let me just tell you.
Oh,
he,
dude, I'm
he's
sure he is.
he is a genuine human being, and I love him with all my heart. We've had several hours long conversations. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to record our conversations, and then I want to just post them as podcast or whatever, because there's some good information that's being shared between him and me. Knowledge being shared, and I just feel like, man, this stuff needs to be shared. Like, he knows a ton about work visas and getting migrant workers here legally, which is amazing. I wish I knew the program enough that I could do it. But bottom line is, if you gotta, and somebody will correct me because I'll be way off, but you pay a lawyer to help work the system to get you people in line. You need a place for them to sleep, meaning an apartment. You got to house them, and then they got to go back. I've also kind of confirmed.
You're exactly right. We actually, what was it, last year whenever we were there at our last shop location, and we
shared it with a landscape company. We shared the property was a half landscape and half us until we got evicted.
Yeah, and they had that idea because I guess the business owner's friend was doing that, and I heard about it and I was like, no way. And then whenever VV told me that that's what he was doing, I was like, man, this is like a legit thing. Like, and they can only stay for like, it's some odd amount of months, like 7 or 9 or something weird like that. But then they got to go.
Yeah, and if you can time it just right, you pull them in March and they go back in November, whatever. You could do a lot with that. But yeah, you got to be able to house them. You got to be able to train them. And he's very successful with that. I mean, what I was happy about is we actually, during this recent one, we did a Buckley fence. 2,500 feet is what we started with. It ended up being 3,300 feet before he left because the customer bought. As we're going through the motion, the customer's like, wait, I want to add some more. And he's in, he's over by Dan Blanc. I don't remember where the crap that's at. Anyway.
New Orleans.
Yeah, Louisiana. Okay, so he's over there right now, and we're just doing all this. I've never even talked to the guy. I'm like emailing and texting, and he's paid us a lot of money to get this thing going. And it's like, you want that fence? The last one was another 69 sections, I think, of fence. So, after 2 days, he's saying, yeah, we can do this. We want this much more. I call Buckley. They have an amazing service team, and they freaking ramrodded that thing and shipped it from Denver to Utah. I had it in 2 days, and Victor was installed on day 3.
Wow.
So that was Saturday, whatever he posted Saturday. I posted some of that too. He put it in, and you're like, holy crap. So it's super awesome. Everything seemed to connect in that scenario. And so we had 3 of his crews on Friday. He had two crews on that Buckley job, and then we got a vinyl job that we sold Wednesday. We got the materials Thursday, and they came in and installed it Friday. So
turnaround service, baby. You can't argue with that.
Right. And
get these 2 and 3 day turnarounds.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's some
so
stuff right there.
It's really nice to have the ability to, slingshot these jobs. And in the past, I'm like, well, I got, my 2 or 3 crews, and I don't know, we'll get to it in 2 or 3 months. And, right now, where we're using Victor and Zion's fence, we got another guy that Victor recommended. His name's, I think it's Eric, but they call him the Muscle. So we're going to pull a couple more subs in, and we're just going to try the old David Gatto approach of ramrodding subcontractors through and feeding them the work. But we're able to, I think we're able to pay quite a bit more than if they're to go out on their own and do their jobs. And then there's obviously got to be something left over for us in the
Yeah, I
end,
mean,
because otherwise it's not worth it. But we did very well with the jobs that we've done this year so far, so it's good.
yeah, I was going to say that same thing. Their overall bring home might not be quite as much versus an in-house crew on certain jobs. But at the end of the day, like on one of the jobs that we're having to sub do is like, our bring home on it's going to be about $1,200. That's not a very big job, but that's a whole job. That's $1,200 that we didn't have to. All we do is order some material, have it dropped, and they're gonna handle it for us. And that's $1,200 for an estimate. And yeah, it's not a huge turnaround on it, but it's for our first couple to kind of getting our feet wet and figuring it out. And what we're doing as we're kind of dabbling into the subcontract is we're subbing one. Let's say if we have two installs that week, we'll sub one and we'll install one. That way, we're not quite giving away all of the, we're still able to move some of our money around. But
Right.
eventually, our goal is by April, by next 3 or 4 weeks, we're wanting to be completely our hands out of the field completely.
Yeah. Unless it's something fun that we just want to go do.
Yeah, I do like a good fun.
Like unless
Yeah.
it's something like a little small like aluminum like driven job, something that we can get in and out of there in like 2-3 hours on.
I saw the vinyl today. It was like 12 panels. I'm like, bro, even if we can't get nobody else to install this, another 3 or 4 weeks out, what can we do on the afternoon? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's taking no time.
Just go throw it in there in a couple hours and be done with it. But,
yeah, I think the experience we've had with the subcontractor route is, I mean, obviously you got best guy in the country. I'm not gonna lie. And then if anybody thinks they're better than VV, then we'll see it, right?
show me the proof.
Right, prove it. The guy talks a lot of shit, but you know what? He delivers, and he's mostly
Hey,
just.
if you can back it up, then hey.
Right. So I've grown fond of Victor. He is an amazing person. Just even if he didn't do sub work for us, he's still an amazing person. And what I've found with the sub work is that if you're looking at team members working for you, and you got to like have the meetings and, pardon my French, but you got to fluff their balls and cater to them and do all the stuff, right? Is total bullshit. Because we as owners of companies, we work our asses off to get the work there, and out there busting their ass to get the jobs installed and stuff. That's all important, and I don't discount that at all. But when they don't come or show up or do the job that you wanted or provide the quality that you're expecting, it's crippling. Exactly. Yeah. So I appreciate.
And that's what you're talking about, getting rid of that cancer is hire fast, fire fast. Or hire slow, slow, fire fast.
Yes.
I recently heard hire fast, fire faster.
Maybe that's what it was. That could have been it.
That was good too. That one's good too.
Hire slow, fire fast worked in the past, but maybe now hire fast, fire faster is the new thing. But if there's a lot of people out there that are, headstrong enough that they could put their own company together, get out, install fence, even if they work for you and they say, hey, I want to sub for you, right? That's great, because guess what? You don't have to feed them work all the time. You can just, if you need them, you use them. And right now that's our relationship with All Over Fences. Today I called Victor about a 450-foot wood job and said, hey, this is probably going to be ready Friday, Monday, somewhere in there. And he says, okay, you just send it. Let's do it. So I keep his goal in mind at 10 million. I'm not going to get him 10 million worth of work, but my goal to give him is about 1 million of our work in labor, which is, that's a lot of work.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of work.
That's not just sales. That's the labor side of it. That is.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Impressive.
Right. And so that being said, and I start seeing these numbers come together, and I'm looking at my capture ratio right now, 64% for this year, which who cares?
That's good.
Let's see what that is in December. But I look at that stuff, and all of a sudden now I have some motivation, and I'm like, wait, we're actually making progress. And then I look at, Victor's goal, and I go, man, I'm helping him too. And all of a sudden we're like building on each other, right? This is a whole rising tide raises all ships. That who was that?
When
You know
you work
what? You know
together.
what? Now that you say that, and I think Brad's actually watching. Brad, I'm about to. Yeah, there
Call
we
him
go.
out.
It was cool.
Get-
Okay, so this is one of our subcontractors that we use, and
Oh yeah, that's Brad.
he had never like driven post before. So after I taught him how to like drive post, apparently he's been selling like his own driven jobs and
Renting a driver.
like
Solid.
renting a driver. Like I like caught up last night. I was like, bro, I didn't know that you just went full force with it. That's really cool. And he was like, dude, you showed me a really cool process, and I'm not just gonna just leave it there. So I'm going to implement it in my company, and I very much appreciate it. I was like, that is, dude, I love that stuff right there. Like the fact that I could not just pay him, but like teach him and then pay him
to install, to handle, to solve problems, to get stuff done.
and to better his company at the end of the day. I was like, that's awesome, man. I love it.
He gets to help his customer deliver a better product, and also when it comes full circle, now since we have a storage facility, he wants to start buying his material from us, and it's like, man, the rising tide brings all ships, and that's how it is right there with Brad.
Right. And speaking of the
VV,
devil, he
it
showed
says
up.
we drive it on Friday.
So he's gonna drive his Ford up to Heber. What he's referring to is I'm actually sending Bridger over there. Bridger's been through the Mr. Fence Academy training in where's Shona? Indiana, right?
Indiana.
Yeah. So I flew Bridger over to there a couple years back, and so Bridger learned all about the pounding method. Recently, in the last year, about a year ago, we got our first sky drill. We run a hydraulic pounder in our area. It's extremely difficult to pound, but there are some opportunities to do it. This job that Victor's talking about is poundable, I think, and so we're going to go ahead and use the King Plus method on it, and we're going to get him going on it. So I've committed Bridger for 3 to 4 hours with him to teach what he knows so that Victor can successfully pound a job. I know he's going to talk smack about it and doesn't want to do it, but Victor and I have also had the conversation.
Be King Plus.
Victor's going to be King Plus in it.
No way. I need video evidence of
like
this.
Live. All right, Victor, live feed.
On right now. I don't know what he says, but he's watching right now. Victor's gonna be okay. VV. All right. That's awesome.
We live stream it.
Right.
So here's the thing. He and I have had a hour-long conversation about pound posts and gone back and forth, and he said, Sean's saying Victor already called him about tips. Victor, don't you worry.
And then
between Sean and Bridger,
I even called Sean King on Monday.
Look at that. There we go.
Everybody playing along and playing nice. Look at that.
Look at us work together. So we're parking Bridger over there, and we're going to have Bridger teach him everything he learned from Sean to help him get him on his way. And the thing is Victor and I have had a long conversation, and he's, I see his, 1.5 or, 1.2 sections per hour in the normal scenarios. And to be honest, it's a hard sell to beat that, right? So if you get guys out there pounding posts, and by the time you put your cost and figure it all out, I've done, a lot of thought into that. And I'm like, you know what, Victor, I don't know if pounding is actually any faster for you. And if he can't go any faster, what's the point, right? The whole point of pounding pipe is to go faster, to increase our production, our output, so that we can do more jobs, right? There's a little bit more expense in all this because you got to buy the pipe. It's $20 to $25, whatever. You got to buy the donuts, and there's 2 of those for heck's sakes. And so then you add it in there. You're $30 to $35 a hole. But if you back out of that, the labor, right? So now you got to go backwards and cut it all out. It's still more expensive materials wise, but where you get it back is the increase in production. And so the idea is that you go faster on the jobs, you can put less manpower on them. Your guys aren't as tired at the end of the day. And then that allows you to go do another job. If you could get, I don't know, 10, 15% more
Yeah,
production.
but is pound and post really going to be faster for Victor?
Yeah, that's just a freak of nature of his numbers.
I mean, I really want to know. Like, like he's the only one I will ever actually question about that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if
I'm gonna have to set up the camera. Maybe we'll just do a live stream the whole time. I'll just run the tripod.
Yeah.
What do you think
Man,
of that?
Let's do
man,
it.
that would be cool because I'm telling you what, I think Victor might beat him with his dig and set method. I mean,
If you had like his guys are so fast, like,
dude, they are so efficient. I remember he called me a couple weeks ago or something about some stain, and he was like, "Yeah, the guys threw in like 150 or 160 poles, and they were back at the shop by 2." I was like, "What?" I was like, "They did what?"
Okay, so here's my take on that. Right, Mark Olson flies from Florida to Salt Lake. Tells me he's coming. I actually had Mark stay at our house, and Mark's doing his YouTube recording. And Mark invites me to go over there, right? So I go over there and I'm watching. Mark's mostly watching and doing his documentary stuff with the video. And I'm out there. I dig a couple holes with them, and I'm kind of just paying attention to the whole process that they're going through. And I'm like, you know, they're a steady stream. Every one of his guys knows exactly what to do. There's not a whole lot of yelling going on, even though Victor's in command when he's there. The impressive part is that he's not always there. He's always there on my jobs. I don't think he needs to be, but he just wants to be. But it's not that much different than if you're a high, well-oiled machine. But the difference is that he can do it day in and day out.
for sure.
You know, every single day. And
Consistency
he has
is key.
support. He has support back at the shop that they got the next job ready. So they just roll in there, they offload their stuff for that day, and then they go out. You know, they're set up ready to go. So that at 5 or 6 in the morning, they're to the next job. And then he shows up to my jobs an hour away at 7 o'clock. That's before my guys even show up to my shop, right? So super impressive. He's already on the road for 1 hour, and my guys are getting here at 7, and he's already on the job sites at 7 o'clock. So,
Wow.
you know, there's that, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna line up Bridger with we have a hydraulic pounder sky drill. It works well in our area. When I researched the pounders, I talked to Chris Gass. I saw he had a hydraulic one and he recommended sky drill, so I started looking at that. Sean's got the air powered ones. There's probably an air powered that will do it, but I don't want to pack that big compressor around, so that doesn't work for us very well. So we want this hydraulic pack. 2 guys can pick it and set it. It'll hit 94 pounds per hit or something like that. And it's, 60 to 80 hits per minute. And in our area, I need that. I've looked at the other gas powered pounders. I researched a lot in that. And it's like a ping, 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 ping when it hits. And I just like, that would probably work really good in sand, and it might work in clay, but it will not work in our area. I need something that hits hard, but just smaller than. I don't want to use a machine, right? So I sized it to the hydraulic. It's got 20 feet of hydraulic hoses on it, and then we just, it's got wheels, so you just kind of roll it as you go. It works really good. We pound a lot of posts. So Bridger will be heading that up with Victor on Friday. They're going to pound the pipe. We'll do some video. We'll try and do some live feed, I guess. I'll donate my stream time to that, and we'll see how it goes. It will be. Victor's pounded before. He has it attached.
He called me today. He called me today and he said that his guys ran over his post pounder with the forklift. He was like, is the US hammer really all that it says it like to be? I was like, what are you using it for? First off, he was like, T-post and chain link. I was like, all right, well then buy it.
Well, I got a question for you. With all the hard digging, with the driving conditions that you guys deal with, obviously having the hydraulic driver makes things a lot better. I can only assume that you guys are driving schedule 40 post, correct?
We drive schedule. Well, it's 20, 40. Our GPI or our hinge posts are 40. The schedule 20s will still go in the ground and they still hold up solid.
But they don't mushroom on top though, because we mushroom 20.
They absolutely mushroom on top. So we make sure our donuts are on first, and if it's a vinyl fence, I don't care if it mushrooms as long as it doesn't mushroom too big.
Right.
But that being said, we actually just recently got the pucks on the last that we did a chain link job in middle of Utah in November, I think, and that was the first time we actually had the pucks available. So we still had to cut the tops, but it was very minimal. If it was vinyl, I wouldn't have. There's no reason to, and it never got stuck. Right. But the pucks we bought I think they were super cheap. So I know they're Chinese, and the Chinese metal doesn't seem to be as solid as the American stuff, obviously. So if I had some American pucks, I don't think I'd have the same issue as much, or the same amount of mushrooming as we had with what we bought. But that was kind of a hurry up, Bridger, just order some pucks. And he found some, and he's like, these are like $70 a piece. I'm like, that's $300 cheaper than the others. Let's roll with it. Yeah. They worked. They still mushroomed, and we still had to cut every chain link top. But with the portaband saw, it wasn't that big a deal to cut.
No, it's not. It's not horrible, but
it's not horrible.
I know we will. You made a comment about driving in sand. We're in Florida where we have a lot of sand, a lot of clay, and stuff like that, and we will absolutely destroy a 20, and we've flattened plenty of 40s that we've had to knock the hell out of the machine. Like it still happens here.
Yeah, there was a 40 weight that you mushroomed real good out of that pool for the vinyl for the corner post. I was looking at it whenever.
I damn sure did. Yeah, at the apartment complex.
Yeah, and that was a 40 weight, and it is mushroomed on the top. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, most of the mushrooming that we have is going to happen not because of soil conditions, but because of the rocks that are underneath the soil. So, we're pounding right on top of a rock. But I could say our average rock size is between 6 and 10 inches, the majority of it, just from what we've dug out everywhere. And so it's pretty predictable. We can just kind of move over 2 inches or something. It sets us off the perfect layout. But once we get off there, we can usually go ahead and find a place to pound through. And so pounding works maybe 60% of the time. I know Joe Everest, he mentioned that he just straight up can't pound at all. When I was in Nashville, I was looking at that hard rock or hard pan or whatever that is. I'm like, man, you never pound there. You'd have to drill that like something serious. And so in our area, it's just rock. You drill down, and even if you had to, you could. We've dug down before when we're drilling, or we just take a bucket on an excavator and we dig a big ass hole, and then it sucks because you got a whole lot of concrete that's got to go in there. But we're throwing rocks back in at the outer perimeter of the hole to help build the hole up, but it's not the best scenario, So we're all about pounding when we can, but it doesn't work for every area. And so
not even that. I mean, it doesn't work for every single hole in our
No, our numbers
our
are
neck
more
of the
than
woods
60%,
too.
But I mean, I'd say most of our stuff that we're pretty fortunate, because I would say most of the ones that we can't is just stupid root balls. Just where you go to drive and you can't get through, man. It's just so much stuff.
Most of it's in these like super old neighborhoods that have had like 3 fences, 4 fences in their lifetime. They've all been chopped post at the ground level. So even if you're like, okay, cool, this doesn't work right
Let's
here.
shift
Let me
over.
go
Nope.
3 inches. No.
We
And
had
then you
that
keep
one-
going and going and going and going. And you're like, oh my God, like
the
when
one
is it
you
going to stop?
stained- The one you stained today.
The one I stained today.
The corner post. This is probably the third fence that was going in on this property. And the corner post, no shit, when they dug this hole, they just threw in a full enclosed bag of concrete. They didn't even bother opening the fucking
Nope,
bag.
they just threw it right in there. They just threw it right in there on there with the whole bag.
still
was
got
still
the
on
wrap?
it and everything. Yeah.
It was a corner post and
Yeah.
it had to go there. So Billy started digging it out. I didn't dig it out. I get there and he shows me this bag of
Dude,
concrete.
we could fit 2 people in that hole.
Oh man, it was supposed to be a driven hole too. That sucks.
We could fit 2
Yes.
people in that hole once I got done digging that post out. And I was like, buddy, I don't think we're gonna be
I'd say-
I don't think we're gonna be driving this one. I was like, I think we're gonna have to set this in concrete.
You know, you talk about calling Sean King and stuff like that. I had a question for Sean. Right, I reached out to him last week. We sold a small vinyl job with tan vinyl, and even no dig with the donuts and whatnot. Only problem is this is a scenario that we have to deal with is super low water tables, and so this guy is down on the south side of town where we're 5 feet above sea level. And where he's at, he's very close to the swamps and to the marshes. And he's worried. He's like, he goes, how far are you going to drive that pipe? I'm like, well, it's an 8-foot pipe. We're going to go 5 feet down, 3 foot up. That's going to be halfway inside the post. He goes, all right, cool. He goes, but what if you hit water? Like, what if you hit? I was like, well, and so that was the whole other thing that we hadn't thought about. Holy shit, we may, just hit water table like this. Maybe not get a good solid footing on it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to move ahead with the plan on driving the post into the ground, but we're also going to take a pallet of concrete with us in the event that we do have to dig. In the event that we do hit a low water table, I mean, you can see standing water in the dude's backyard. But in the event we have to do that, we're going to auger the holes out, bore them full of concrete, pack them, drive them through the concrete, and that way the guy kind of gets the best of both worlds. He still gets that metal insert.
There we go.
So and he agreed to it.
Let me just share with you the Golden Gate Bridge had a whole bunch of ocean surrounding it. So pouring concrete, I mean, this is formed up and they figured out a way to make that all work. But
right.
I've set many a posts with a hole full of water.
Oh yeah.
And I've never once never have I ever had to go back to a post that didn't work or failed because I've set the post in a hole full of water. I don't even worry about it. I set the post in there. If it's full of water, we'll put the concrete in it and the water kind of oozes out. It still works. I've never been called back on it. I've watched those posts over time and it still works. And so the concrete will cure underwater. There's no shame in that. Don't be afraid.
No. That was just as a trial and error because the guy goes, what if it doesn't take? I was like, well, this is what we're going to do.
It'll take.
But,
It'll take.
Have you
I think there's
seen
fear.
There's walking sump pump. that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
the
Yeah.
stick?
Absolutely,
We have
dude.
one. They work awesome.
Those things are cool.
Yeah,
Those
we've
are real
got
cool.
one. We run it when we need it. Bridger likes
Nice.
to pump the water out of the hole, but I don't care. I just, if we've dug our hole and it's there, I'll set
Just
the pump.
dump
I don't
right in
do
there.
a lot of that. I don't do a lot of the operations right now.
As
But
long as like,
Right. Well, hey,
we're getting
shed
close.
us some light on your post boring machine
Yes.
real
yes.
fast, because that's about all we got time left for, and I'm pretty curious because we've been talking a lot about that, and we don't have the crazy money that A to Z has to go buy one of those machines, and I saw you build one for yourself.
so I actually called Aaron on that one day, and he shared that he had one, and then he told me how much it was, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's not in my wheelhouse of
Right?
piles
Right.
of money, right? So I took a frame. So Buckley sends out these gates, and they come on basically a welded frame. You can fork into it. It's anywhere from 4 feet or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 feet long. So I use that as my base. I welded some angle iron on, and I used to drill a whole hog. So my cost into this thing's about $800. I have a whole hog, and I went to Tractor Supply, and I purchased a winch, right? The type that you hook to your truck, because we have batteries that run this winch.
Okay.
And then, so if you hook the winch to your drill, and I have a D-ring welded on, and a couple bolts, what do you call it? The whole hog is, you got to kind of position it straight so that it hits the center of the post. It does work. Anyway, the D-ring's hooked to the drill. I can send you, maybe I'll do another post on that, but I can kind of walk you through it. But or I'll pull some old footage up. Anyway, the D-ring hooks on. You got to have bungee cords, because if you don't use the bungees, the actual winch will rip the guts out of the drill. So,
okay. Yeah.
so if you use bungees, and
Yeah.
I have 4 bungees in sequence, and if I had a real bungee cord, like if something that was all 4 together and braided, it would be better. But I'm just using the black ones because it's expendable. I can go buy 4 more if I need them. But you can get 100 pulls out of that thing, or do 100 posts before you got to replace any of those black. These are just the trucker bungees that you would strap a tarp on and hold the tarp down onto the back of the trucks. And so I'm just thinking of stuff that are consumables that I use, that I have access to, right? I don't got to wait 2 weeks for something. I can, if I break a bungee cord, I can go get another one in a couple of minutes in a pinch, right? So the bungees pull the drill through. We run an auger that's 2.5 inch whole hog, I guess, because it drills, and then you got to run constant air through it to keep it clean. If you don't, if you don't clean the shavings out, you'll get bound in there, and then it's a bitch to get it out. So anyway, it works. We've drilled hundreds and hundreds of posts that way. We haven't had a high demand to I have another machine I'm going to build at some point to get those holes drilled better. It's the old version of the vinyl post. It air compresses the posts in and centers them, and then from there I'll attach a whole hog to it. I just haven't had the demand where I needed to get to building that yet, and so I'm kind of on pause on that. But it works. It works really well. I'm about, I don't know, $800 or $900 into materials on it, and then probably 1 to 2 days of welding / troubleshooting to get it to work. And then once we got it working, it was like you're literally flicking the button on the winch, and it's got such a low gear ratio that it will pull the bungees, and those bungees, they get real tight, and they just want to pull that drill through, and you do it again, and you're just kind of doing this leapfrog scenario. So 12.
I see it.
That's cool.
See it.
That's cool.
$1,200 instead of, I don't know, 40. I'll take
Right.
$1,200.
Yeah.
Right. I want to give a shout out real quick to this comment that Sean put on there. It says we have a trick for that. Anybody who he's referring to in this is going to be going back to putting a post into a hole that's full of water. It says we have a trick for that. We use a trash bag, put it over the hole, and put post in a bag, push down, and then open it up and pour concrete into the bag, expelling the water out of the hole and leaving the post in with the concrete in. That is
pretty cool.
That's one of those fucking stupidly
Pretty cool.
simple, smart things that you kind of like.
Yeah. You're like, man,
this is what it's all about. We're all helping each other out. Right?
That is
tips and tricks.
Go-to, easy way to get water out of a hole right there. That's like, because you gotta have trash bags on your truck. You know, trash bags. I mean,
I know, right?
You gotta have them.
We got a whole box of them. But
there you go.
All right, Mr. Josh Rand, we are hitting time limit tonight.
That was a good time.
Anything else you have to add for anybody?
Biggest thing, I think it's important that everyone that we share and we work together, because when you work together, we can move the industry forward. And I think it's what the majority of us are trying to do is help each other out. If you can leave guys in the dust, or you can bring each other along. I mean, clearly an example, Sean's helped me in several ways. I spent a lot of hours talking with him on the phone at his academy, at the events. I spent time talking with Mark Olson, Tony Thornton, Joe Everest, some big deal people. And then, I take that, I implement it. I run with, Victor Vasquez right now, and we are working together to make us both look good, right? This isn't about I'm the prime contact in this, and Victor's a sub. No, this is hey, we're working together to help each other reach each other's goals. And in the end, it's pretty amazing, the results of working together. So I think if everybody works together to help build the industry, then we're all going to be winners in this. And that's what it should be about. If your goals are focused on yourself, then, fine, take it, run with it. Hopefully you make it. But if you can help someone else along the way, then that's what I'm about. I'm very open book. I'll share whatever. If someone calls me personally, I'll share important stuff with them or share my life with them. I think it's important that we just work together, because that's what it takes. This is a hard work. We all picked a hard business to, digging holes isn't exactly easy. I imagine there's harder jobs out there, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
right. But this is one of the hardest ones. You're at the bottom.
Man, I love helping people, and I have a very open mind, and I might not agree with everybody, and I might not like everybody, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to treat them in a professional and a respectful way, regardless of how I feel about them as an individual.
Is that what the neighbor said about you today?
That neighbor was pissed. All right, bro. I was like, look, man, look, buddy. I'm sorry that I'm coming out of your backyard while you're coming in, and that your neighbor didn't tell you I was going to be there. But don't please don't yell at me, because I don't even know your name. I don't even know your name.
But you're 100% right, though, man. Sticking together and just everybody. A lot of that comes to time, experience, and maturity. What you're talking about is a lot of time, experience, maturity. It's not just the fencing world; it's just in life and all. You get a lot of these cock-strong young people. I'm 35, almost 36. I guess I still fall into that young category as well, too. But you get that young mentality to where they think everything's a competition. And we've all been there. We can't say we haven't, because we all have. I can remember very vividly 4 or 5 years ago, Sean King trying to give me some advice on a gate. And I thought I was Billy Badass, and I did not need his 2 cents. And you know what? I realize now just how small-minded that way of thinking is. And I think about where we are now 4 or 5 years later, because you shut your mouth and open your eyes and you open your ears, then, that's when you can really start to learn stuff. It's not that everybody's being mean. It's not that everybody's being bad or being a-holes or this or that. The only way you're going to learn is by shutting your mouth. You cannot learn by speaking. And that's what a lot of what you're talking about comes into, is just having that time, that maturity level to be willing to shut up and listen. And learn.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. With all these naysayers or these keyboard warriors that are out there trying to flex or whatever, you get into a lot of the dry pack or pound and posts or all these things. Most of the people in there, they're negative comments, and then you start digging into it, and you're like, this guy's never even tried it, And so
and there's that. But at the same time, as I think about it, I don't have any time for. I'm too damn busy to be giving a shit about what anybody else is doing in their business or who they want to be talking about over here or doing over there. Billy's all the time. Hey, did you see what they're doing or who's talking this shit? I'm like, oh, fuck. Because
I just laugh because I have all my my group notifications on, so I see every time someone posts, and so I'll just be sitting there if I'm bored watching TV. I'm like, oh man, this is funny. Oh, check this out. So that's what that was about.
Yeah.
But so Mr. Josh Rand, we are going to call it a night because I'm ready to eat. Of Corey, are you ready to eat some dinner?
I've been going strong since 4:30 this morning, man.
But hey, man, we very much appreciate you coming on and everything. If y'all want to go follow Josh Rand on Instagram or Facebook, here's his Instagram, same as Facebook. Go to Aloha Fence. Always has the good, like motivational posts. Love your ice bath stuff as well. But you guys go give him a follow, go give him a watch, and see what happens. And again, thank you, Josh, for coming on tonight, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Thanks for having us, man.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Later, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry, Josh, didn't mean to hang up on you like that.
Good stuff, man. Good
Right.
stuff. That was a good time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we want to thank our sponsors, Mr. Fence Academy, for sponsoring like tonight's show. And other than that, you got anything else? You want to hit the button?
Which button? Oh, yeah, in a second.
The green one.
I was thinking about getting into some. We still have 8 different people watching, and you were talking about playing nice and being in earlier before the show started, and I didn't know if you wanted to touch on that any.
Oh man, you guys want to sing Kumbaya?
Yeah,
I feel like we all just need to just like sit down around the campfire and sing Kumbaya, guys. Everybody's okay. I promise you. I'm like, just if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say a damn thing then. All right. Just like your mama told you whenever you were growing up. I mean, that's all I want to get out of my chest.
You can't please 100% of the people 100% of the time.
No.
That's that, man. There's these people in this life that don't like you. There's people in this life that do like you. And fuck the rest.
Yep. All right.
Anyway.
Well,
good stuff, man.
Hit that green button.
Boom. Hope I hit right.
You did. Now we're going to meet. Later, guys.
Have a good one. Thank you, guys.